Welcome to the Global Creative Podcast, a podcast about artists and the cities that inspire them. Today on the podcast, we have Tony Gapastione from the Bay Area. So let's get this started. All right, so Tony, give me a brief description of yourself, like who you are.
Woo! All right. I'm Tony Gapastione, and I am a creator. I am a husband. I am a father. I'm someone trying to figure out life, trying to figure out what it's all about. I am a person of faith. I love to talk about spiritual things. I love to write, direct, produce. I love to be honest that half the time I feel like I'm fumbling through life, but that's sometimes where some of the greatest stories come. And my company is called Brave Maker, and it's a nonprofit for artists. I live and exist to empower artists to reach their creative goals, and I believe brave stories change the world.
Yeah, all right, so Brave Maker, tell me more about that, It's like, what inspired you to make it,
Yeah, I look at you, Mr. Bryce, 16 years old, and you're making movies, and you're jumping on the train and biking over here, doing this internship, and I'm so inspired by you because when I was younger, I didn't feel like I had that permission. I didn't have that invitation to do it. Maybe it was more in my mind, or maybe it was real. I don't know. But in my journey of being an actor to then being a filmmaker, I had to conquer a lot of my own personal obstacles. I didn't feel confident enough. I didn't feel equipped enough, whether it was with my skills and abilities, or just my contacts, or finances, blah, blah, blah. So after 20 years of serving in one organization and being employed and having a great job with benefits, I got to my ceiling and realized my passions truly were creating and writing and directing. And I needed to take a leap of faith and do it full time. So I considered moving to LA and considered working for somebody else, being a production assistant or coordinator, or just trying to get up the ladder on my own in the film and TV world. But the short story is I realized I needed to stay in the Bay Area where my family was rooted and grounded, and I needed to make a mark here for not only myself, but for other creatives. So I started Brave Maker as a way to not only do my own work, but actually to stir and support and raise up a tribe of creatives to make life, make work, bravely make film and TV happen here.
Well, I think you talk about the Bay Area as your main location, and how it like affected you because you want to stay here. And so many people they go to places like LA, New York, and you stayed here. And I think we need more people like that, because people think that if they go to this one location, everything's just going to happen for them. And personally, I don't subscribe to that, because it may inspire you, like LA may inspire you, New York may inspire you, but is it going to work? Because there's so many people in those locations. There's so many people in LA. There's so many people in New York, and those are the two biggest ones.
Yeah.
But like for me, and I personally want to maybe live abroad and find new places, but I feel like there's of course so many people, so there's oversaturation. And what really makes people in the Bay Area and like places like Georgia, I think Georgia's a larger place, is they're more unique, because if the trend is going to LA and the trend is going to New York, then the people that stay in the Bay Area are going to have like more sort of unique stories because they already are more unique. And not to diss people that go to LA or anything, or New York, but it's just sort of like even in the Bay Area, it's a different style of filmmaking, I feel like in LA it's considered more of a business, and here in places like San Francisco, Austin, Toronto, it's more of an art, And I think it's a very big problem that like a lot of people get that confused, that like, well, is it a business or an art?
It's both.
Yeah,
it's got to be both. I mean, unless you don't need any money to live, unless you're got a trust fund or something.
Isn't everything, because all arts, music, filmmaking, like painting, all that sort of it has to be business and it has to be an art. But what is the main focus? And I feel like people need art. You need music. Like without music, I don't know how I'd function really. And so I feel like what we're doing is we're making that art, that thing that people need. Like ever since the beginning of time, there's been storytellers, there's been musicians,
totally.
there's been painters. And so how do you fit into that timeline?
I fit into it as a storyteller
Yeah.
who takes the visual arts, takes the pictures and puts motion to them. And, my calling has developed over time. Like I always wanted to act. I always, from a kid, loved putting on costumes and being superhero and make believe with my brother, whatever it was. And that's something I never lost, thankfully, as a kid. In high school I was in the theater, in college I was in the theater, and I never felt like it was something I had to give up until, I started to kind of get the message that, that wasn't the safest bet for stability in the future. I think I got the impression either subtly and maybe a few times really specifically that I had to find a job that would pay the bills, a job that would support a family. And so the funny thing is I spent 20 years trying to do that, and I did it well. And now I'm at this place of like, I have no stability whatsoever financially. I'm trying to literally in faith create this nonprofit and look for supporters to help other creatives do the same thing. And also, I do want to be self-sustaining. I believe the arts can be self-sustaining. Maybe it's not as credible or secure as Wall Street or as Silicon Valley or as the tech world. But I truly believe there's a place in society for artists and to be compensated. We should be looking at our muralists and our writers and our designers. And I have friends who are event planners and space people who design and decorate space and art direction. I believe these things are crucial to our society, and we need to look at them and compensate them fairly and well, just like our teachers who are teaching our kids and preparing us for the future need to be compensated. So I don't know, maybe I'm a communist. I believe in some way we should all share the wealth. I don't know. I mean, positive communist. I get a little concerned with what my kids will face in the future. And I'm trying to show them that it's really important to go after your dreams. I'm trying to show them that I'd rather you eat ramen and live in a small studio apartment with a couple of friends, but be totally creatively fulfilled. If you want to be a dancer or a writer or a filmmaker or an actor, go after it. It's not worth it to me to sit in a cubicle and make a lot of money and feel totally stifled and dead inside.
Yeah, and like I feel that what you're saying is, you've got to do it. Like for me, I feel like everybody has their own sort of meaning to their life, and each person has a different meaning. And for me, my meaning is to find happiness. And if filmmaking is what makes me happy, then I have to do that at all costs. It's like, okay, well, maybe I won't be rich or maybe I won't, middle class, but at least I'll be happy. And for me, I'll be satisfied knowing that that's what, made me happier, so.
I'd add on to that too. I mean, I love that at 16 years old, you've already developed this philosophy. It's awesome, dude. I'd say, I believe in, as a creator, we have this created design within us. And so I believe every artist, I think, is spiritual in some way. And really being a human, we're all trying to figure out, why are we here? Why do I exist? Why was I born? Why was I made? What good does my passion or my abilities or skills do in the world? And so I know we all want to be happy, and at the same time we all want to know, am I significant? Am I meaningful? Does my work do anything for the world? And that's why I think it's a twofold process, that we must create simply for ourselves. We must create because it's within us. And if we don't, a part of us or all of us just dies. We just can't live. But there's also something to be said about, as we create, that process is doing something in us. We're fulfilled, we're happy, we're satisfied. You talked about satisfaction, but also your work is a ripple effect in the world in some way. It doesn't matter in my mind how big the audience is, but if you're impacting someone else in a way that opens their mind to a new thing, or brings them comfort, or disturbs them. One of my favorite quotes about art is, it either comforts the disturbed or disturbs the comfortable.
Yeah.
And so I think our work as creators is really to put things out into the world because we have to for ourselves, but also with the intention to meet a need in the world in some way. And so the world needs entertainment. The world needs humor. The world needs conviction of responsibility, of social awareness. The world needs to be morally focused and directing toward making things whole and right in systems and things that are broken. So I think we as artists get to do that.
Yeah. I mean, the like what you're saying, the world needs art, you know. It needs to be like there's this quote from a screenwriter and like a bunch of other like it's a very common theme that a lot of screenwriters would say that if they weren't doing what they're doing, like if they weren't writing, they would have gone crazy because they need to do that. And you know, it's that like need, and there's like you know, there's different types of people in this world, and so I think personally, I mean, I have no scientific evidence to back this up whatsoever, but like except for like you know personality types, and there's this one type that would be the creative, and if you know, there's different types of creatives, of course, but it's no matter if you're in like a day job or something, you feel that need. You feel that need to be creative. You know, you feel you need to create, and I feel like you know everybody has a little bit of that, and if they tap into that, potential, you know, they can do so much. But it's definitely stronger with some people. Like for me, and it's weird because I don't really consider myself as a creative person, even though I mean like I guess now I do more because I'm really sort of following that dream. But I'm very I don't like what's the word I'm looking for gosh. Anyways, well, I don't like believe in myself enough. I think I feel that I worry a lot. Like, you know, it's okay. What am I gonna do? But like, I never considered myself. I like even up to like maybe last year, I never considered filmmaking art. You know, it's a business, and that's what it is. Of course, it's part business, but that doesn't mean like you. And I think that's the problem with movies today as well. Like when you watch a blockbuster film, do you think, okay, wow, I'm inspired by this film. Like, this is going to change how I think of the world, or change, like, not even that, like, change how I think. And I think that's what film should do. And, like, it wasn't until I started, like, watching, like, filmmakers like Wes Anderson and, like, I mean, of course, he was one of the few sort of that made it and, like, made inspirational films. But until I started, like, looking at like other filmmakers and that sort of industry, I started, wow, this is an art equivalent to painting or writing or making music. And so I didn't really see that potential, and so I didn't see myself as an artist. So I think if you have that mindset, and I think a lot of people do have that mindset, okay, I'm not creative, I'm not blah 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 blah. Like we all fear, you know. Like I'm assuming that you feared becoming like an actor because, you know, like you were saying earlier, you wanted the stability, you know? And I think we all want stability, you know? We all want to be reassured that what we're doing is the correct thing and what we're doing is we're gonna be stable. But a lot of like the times after stability for a while, is that gonna make you happy? Is that it's numb, you know? It's nothing. And then even if you're following your dream, then you have something at least. Or at least that's my perspective of it. But I don't know.
I think there's a lie we tend to believe is that I never have enough.
Yeah.
And I'm always wanting more. And when I get that something, whatever it is, fill in the blank, when I get that car, when I get that status, when I get that relationship, when I get that paycheck, when I get that opportunity, then I will feel satisfied. Then I will feel as if I have arrived. So, you know, as I hear you talking about the confidence, I think that's the human condition, is to believe that we are enough. And that's where, for me, my faith really dictates to me. For me, the engine of the universe is love and acceptance. For other people of faith, when I say people of faith, for me, my particular brand, as I'm a follower of Jesus, I love the ways of Jesus. I love the story of Jesus. It's a broken story, meaning there's so many people who get it wrong and miss the point and twist it. And that's the beautiful thing about the story of Jesus, is this is a story of God becoming a human being to show us this is what it looks like to be human.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like to accept people and to serve one another and to be humble. And we often get that wrong and twisted.
Right.
We think the engine of the universe is is about judgment and wrath
Yeah.
and rules, and that like closes people off, and that makes people feel like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, if I'm acceptable to the world, if I might have challenges or disabilities, or I might
Mm-hmm.
have a different orientation or whatever, fill in the blank. But for me, this what comes down to, like, I have to create from a place of full acceptance that I'm accepted, I'm loved, I'm
Yeah.
enough, I'm at peace, and I can create from that. And that's okay to acknowledge, like, oh, there's pain and there's brokenness. And I definitely create from a place of question. I create
Mm-hmm.
from a place of angst at times,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't drive me to a place of that's my sole identity. As a human being, I
Mm-hmm.
want to live from a place of, like, oh no, I'm loved. I know that the
Yeah.
creator of the universe loves me, sees me as whole and enough. And that's part of what I think my work is intended to do,
Yeah.
is to open up to people that idea that the universe is run with love, not
Yeah.
the opposite. Because if we don't have that, then we continually doubt ourselves and are insecure. And those stories are
Right.
actually kind of okay to talk about. Like, I
Yeah.
like the vulnerability. I like it because we all,
Mm-hmm.
as creators and human beings, wonder. But we have to continually tell ourselves what the truth is no, I'm enough. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to live from a place of authenticity, and my stories will reflect that. So I think what we kind of like the stories of the underdogs, right? The people who
Yeah.
rise up above their circumstances. And that's, for me, I don't know, the thing I'm attracted to in storytelling as well.
Right. Yeah. I feel like you were saying, there's so much sort of anger in the world. People are they're mad about all these different things, and I feel like that stems from our own insecurities. Like a few years, like I'm a completely different person than I was a few years ago because I had so much anger about like different things and like depression that
Hmm.
I struggled with. But now I've made these changes in my life that now I can feel happy. And now that I'm like pursuing my dream, like if I wasn't pursuing this, I would go crazy.
How'd you conquer them? How'd you make the changes?
Like I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but I sort of like looked. I think there was this one moment where I like looked in the mirror and I was like, What are you doing with your life?" Like even though I was probably like 14 at the time, I was like, I was just I was sort of, well, because you can plan out your entire life, or not like exactly, but you can sort of look into the
You
future.
have
Like,
expectations and hopes,
yeah,
what it could be.
and it's like, okay, well, if I keep following this path, then I'm never gonna achieve anything because I doubt
Mm.
myself. I don't believe I
Mm.
can do it,
Yeah.
and so I made the changes that were necessary in my life. Like I started trying to have a better outlook on the world. Like I used to be so angry,
Yeah.
and I was just like, okay, well, why am I angry? And it's just for no reason.
Hmm.
I'm just, and once I realized that it was unnecessary anger, I felt like so much more. I felt
Hmm.
like I was lighter. Like I lost like 30 pounds.
Hmm.
Like I felt like that, because it's and then I sort of realized, okay, well, you know what? People may doubt you. People may hate what you do. People may hate you, and it may seem like that, because there's just so much negativity, and that's kind of like negativity, man. Kind of like a bit hipster, and but like how do I say this? There is a lot of negativity in the world, and because there's a lot of things that are going on, and people are afraid, and people are insecure,
Yeah.
and I feel like, well, what are you going to be afraid of that? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You have two options. You can live your entire life fearing rejection and
Right.
fearing uh, that people won't approve of what you're doing, and people won't believe you, and people won't like love you for who you are, and you just gotta say, well, screw it. I'm gonna do what I want to do because if I
Mm-hmm.
don't do this, I won't be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just gotta put yourself out there. Like for me, I'm 16, and I'm out here making my own films, writing, directing, and I still have a lot of the fear that I still like that I had. Like I worry, okay, what am I to do in 2 years? Like film school, no film school, like because that's the traditional path, film school, whatever. But so I fear a lot of that. But I try and think to myself, well, live in the now. You gotta live in the now, and you got to, plan for your future as well. Like, just like what I'm doing now is sort of like the internship and stuff and meeting people. And I think a lot of the reason that I'm doing that is out of fear, but it's positive fear, essentially. It's not like, it's like it's pushing me, it's pushing me to do that. And I think that's good. I think we all need a little bit of fear, but if it's damaging us, like if it's like, it's like, okay, I'm not good enough for this.
Yeah.
I can't do this. I think that's bad. And I think we have to look into ourselves and say, okay, well, what am I doing? I think every month is a good time to just do a reality check, Be like, because we can get so distracted with things that we, like just random things. Like I think like I just sort of stopped making things, and that was another thing that got me really depressed. But I should have just like if I had done this every month and I just looked into a mirror and went, what am I doing? How can I change this? How can I improve my life? How can I improve my worldview? How can I do all this stuff? And I think everybody should do that, because if you take some time to reflect and take some time, like you don't have to do it in front of a mirror. You can go out in nature and just like alone and just sort of think, because I feel like, especially with like technology, we're so distracted. We always have to have something, We always have to be on Instagram or on Snapchat, or I don't like Snapchat, but we have like Twitter or something. And I think they're good. I think it's an interesting way to communicate with people, but I also feel like, we're on those sort of devices and so much that we distract ourselves from our own reality, Like, I can't remember who said it, but there's this quote, and it's like, we used to use technology as an escape from reality. Now we use reality as an escape from technology. So I thought that really was
cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we probably get a lot more work done if we weren't on social media as much.
Yeah, definitely.
I wanted to comment on what you said about all the negativity and dealing with the fear of rejection. I'm a dad. I have 3 daughters. And so I just was talking about this with my kids this week, that when we're hurt, when we are hurting people, whether we're afraid or whether we're wounded because someone has harmed us with our words, we have a number of different ways in which we can respond to that.
Yeah.
We can run to a healthy comfort. We can run for a hug from a mom and dad, or a conversation with someone who's trusted, a friend. We can talk it out. We can look for reconciliation. We can listen to music. We can breathe, meditate, pray, all that stuff. Or we can run to unhealthy comforts. We can run to food. We can, or substances, or social media. We can drown out our pain. But sometimes we also cope by trying to hurt other people.
Yeah.
We try to cope by tearing other people's down, tearing other people's work down, tearing other people's personhood down. The idea is that hurt people is really real in the world. And so learning how to respond to the hurt that other people put out, whether it's, where's all this racial hostility coming from? It's coming from people who have their own insecurities, who have their own pride, who have their own unhealthy thinking that dictates that they're better than other people, or that they're afraid of other people, or that
they're just insecure.
Yeah, all that stuff comes down to. So I think, as I think about being a creator, it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
There's the positive. Not positive. There's the neutral rejection. Like just yesterday, my kids and I were all on a callback audition. Yeah. I audition pretty regularly again, acting stuff, and they needed a real family. And I asked my girls who wanted to come with me, and they all said yes.
Yeah.
They called us all back, and I tried to communicate to them the reality is, they're looking for a particular look. It's not personal.
Right.
They might just want one daughter and no dad, or one dad and no daughters. And when we got there, they checked us in. The reality was so crazy. Miscommunication, nobody's fault necessarily, but one of my daughters wasn't on the list.
Oh, wow.
And they only wanted to call back 2 of my daughters. And so thankfully I talked it through on the car ride there. I'm like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. They just wanted the younger 2, not the older. So we went in there, and then the director and the producer were really interested in my youngest daughter. And she was the one who's saying she only wanted to do it if her sister was going to do it.
Yeah.
And so after we walked out of the room, they said, can we have your youngest daughter come back in by herself? We're interested in her. And my youngest daughter was like, I don't want to go by myself. I don't want to go by myself. And so I had to tell the director, I'm like, I'm so sorry, no. And so none of us got it. It was just so interesting, like how that stuff works. And that's a neutral rejection. That wasn't like personal. Like they're just trying to cast a spot. So as a performer, as a creator, we have to deal with the neutral. Like, you're just going to get rejected. I've gotten 3 grant rejections this month.
Wow.
I've gotten another audition I didn't get. Like, just those are just, that comes with the territory. But then there's the other, like the intentional negative critique that's part of the rejection. People just say, I don't like you. I don't like your work. I don't like what you stand for. I don't like your face. And we as creators have to get used to knowing how to walk away and ignore and not let that seep into our identity or into our heart or our soul. It's like a weed. We let the little seed of those lies into our hearts and minds, it just can affect our whole being and derail us from our purpose of being a creator.
Right. All right. So we've talked about like a lot about like what makes us creative and sort of the philosophy of that, but I kind of want to delve into this podcast is about location and just sort of like inspiration and stuff. Like, how does the Bay Area inspire you to make films and to make your art?
Awesome. Well, I've lived in the Bay Area for 20 years. I absolutely love it. I love that you can surf and snowboard all in the same day if you wanted to. I love the weather here, and that's why everything's so dang expensive. But the inspiration for me is the fact that we live by San Francisco, which is this cultural mecca. I live in Redwood City, which is also this little mini suburb of San Francisco that is really brewing with life. I've done my 2 major films, my short films, Neighbor and 1440 and Counting. Well, actually, all my films, Selfie and Toothcake and Tester, were all done in Redwood City. And so I'm super inspired here because I live here. I live here and I want to work here. I want to make my content here. And I want to tell the stories of my city and of the Bay Area. And the feature film that I'm working on right now, producing, is called 33 Days. And that's based right out of the Tenderloin in San Francisco. And so I'm telling Bay Area stories. I want to make a mark, make a name. I want Brave Maker and my name, Tony Gapastione, to be associated with the work of the San Francisco Bay Area, because there's a lot of things, a lot of creative people, a lot of creative things that are going here, and I want to elevate those things and partner with those things and initiate things in which can provide jobs for other people. So the Bay Area is super inspiring for all those reasons to me. It's been really gracious to me. I'd say the city of Redwood City has been super generous to give me police, not protection, but when I was doing my films, they shut down police support. They shut down streets for me. They gave me permits for filming for free.
Nice.
They have given me tons of in-kind donations, which is basically like, free food or free props or free venues, all that kind of stuff. So when you get that type of thing as a creator, it's very inspiring because we're all trying to make our work happen, and we need resources, so finances, but also we need support and people and cameras and gear and all that kind of stuff that's included in why I'm doing my work here.
Yeah. Anyway, so like, I feel like an interesting thing about, I know I've been talking a lot during this podcast, but
it's your podcast.
Yeah, I guess. It's everybody's podcast,
It's the world's podcast.
It's the global...
It's the global creative.
The global...
Bum, bum.
Welcome to the Global Creative Podcast.
It's the global creative.
But yeah, it's not just mine. I feel like the people are going to listen to this. It's part of their thing too. But what I think was interesting is San Francisco and the Bay Area. It's a very sort of economic hub, And I feel like San Francisco has a lot of great art that came out of it, and then tech boom, and so that all moved here, and that kind of distracted everybody. And I feel like there's a resurgence of art and creative thought that's coming back to the city. And there's like Netflix is here, so they're thinking about building studios, and you have like people in San Francisco.
Yeah, we need Netflix to make a studio here.
Yeah,
we have a headquarters here, but we need the studios to be made here. Netflix, do you hear that?
Yeah, so Netflix, if you're listening, it's just if like the company Netflix, the entire company, somebody messes up and this plays over the speakers, if you're listening, build a studio at Candlestick Park. Let's go. But yeah, there's like, I feel like a lot of people want to move to, LA and New York. And I think that San Francisco and the Bay Area are going to become a much larger hub.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, Oh yeah, it was on the Making Movies is Hard podcast. They were just talking about this, and they were talking about how in San Francisco you have, and like not just San Francisco, but of course the entire Bay Area, like East Bay, South Bay. You have different you have specialized crews. These people, they may not work the same way as crews in LA, but they have their own style to them, and they have their own talent, and they have their own stuff. Like Sorry to Bother You by Boots Riley. I still haven't seen it, but I really
great,
want to.
dude.
Yeah, you've seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, I just want
Bonkers.
to. Yeah.
So good.
And that was shot in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like what you were saying earlier is, and they said this on the podcast as well. It was like you can go surfing and snowboarding in the same day, and so you can. I saw this Mazda commercial that was shot all like in different places in the Bay Area, and like in North California.
Yep.
And it made it seem like it was shot all around the world.
Yep.
And I think once people start realizing this, they're gonna start coming here, which is good, which is cool, but I don't think I'm gonna stay here. So, I mean, it's an amazing place, and San Francisco will always that'll always be in my mind. That'll always inspire me. But I feel like the different, you can't just stay to one place. I feel like I have to travel and experience more, because that way I can learn stories in different locations, And all right, we're at the 30-minute mark, so talk about projects that you're working on now.
Yeah, like I said, 33 Days is a film based in the Tenderloin. It's a true story about Roger Huang, who was a Taiwanese immigrant.
Yeah.
He came in the 80s. Let's say, 80s or late 70s? 80s. And he was looking to get the American dream like everybody else, and he gave it up when he discovered the Tenderloin and the people of it, the oppressed children, the human trafficking victims, the substance addicts, in which he wanted to help and make a difference there. So he ended up building a school and a church and a rescue mission, and now there's a clinic there that's open for the residents of the Tenderloin, in which there's 3 crimes every hour in the Tenderloin, and about 6,000 homeless people that live in 1 square mile. They come through 1 square mile.
It's crazy.
And the story that we're putting into film is about his hunger strike in 2004. Yeah. He staged a hunger strike in front of City Hall to basically draw attention to all these issues that were being addressed. The city was not taking care of the park. There's 1 park that the kids could use. The city was not enforcing the boundaries between liquor stores and strip clubs that were right next to his school. So he said, hey, this has got to change. And after 33 days, Gavin Newsom gave in to all of his demands. So we're going to tell the story of one man's pursuit of justice in the city. Yeah.
Isn't Gavin Newsom running for governor?
He is, yeah. Which he probably will get it. Mm-hmm. So that's one story. I'm just producing that. And the other, I've got a couple different ones, but I'm working on a feature film called The Thorns We Live With, which is a dramedy that I wrote and will be directing. It's about a family that has to reconcile the overdose of their mother over Thanksgiving. Wow. And it is a kind of a dark dramedy, dark comedy. Yeah. And then I'm working on a digital series as well that's inspired by my friends who did Douchaholics. It's available on Amazon and iTunes, and it's the digital series is called Church Biz.
Oh yeah, I should get them on the podcast.
Yeah, I should totally get them. That'd be great. Sean and Elizabeth.
Yeah,
they're awesome.
Anyways, okay, so do you want to talk about projects you've worked on? Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, definitely. Go to Amazon Prime, and I've got 2 films on there. One is called Neighbor. It's a fictional narrative based on some real issues of human trafficking in suburbia. So I wrote and directed that. And if you are a comedy fan, Angela Johnson plays a role in there, and it's not a comedic role, which is kind of fun to watch her do that. She's a stand-up comic from San Jose, actually. And then my other film was called 1440 and Counting. That stars Loretta Devine and Jeremy Ray Valdez. And it's funny, Jeremy Valdez and I are actually working on a sitcom called, well, I'm going to keep that secret, actually. We have a sitcom and a feature film that we're working on and shopping around right now. The feature film is called Spinners. It's about a group in L.A. that is an underground sort of spinning mafia, and they go to a championship competition in Las Vegas. So,
what is spinning?
Have you ever seen those guys who spin arrows on the corner?
Oh, yeah.
This is a literal group of people who do that for sport.
Anyways, all right. So, do you want to like talk about your podcast or something else?
Yeah, you're giving me all these commercial shout outs. Yeah. So you can find my podcast. It's called Holy Cannoli. It's a discussion about life and all its strangeness and sacredness. And I talk about everything from media, God, film, art, racial justice things. I'm doing a whole series on the LGBTQ community this year. So I highly recommend tuning into that. And then just follow me, Tony Gapastione. It's spelled Gapastione. You can find me at my website. It's tonygap.com. And you can look up my nonprofit, bravemaker.com. If you're an artist that's trying to reach any creative goal, I'd love to support you and consult with you. And there's lots of stuff. I'm doing retreats and a film fest and a creative morning thing. So check it all out. Find me and connect with me. Let's be social.
All right, cool. I think this makes a good first episode. And thanks for coming on the podcast, Tony.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Nice
right.
job, Bryce.
All right. Bye.
And we'll have everything.
This has been the Global Creative Podcast. Make sure you check out Tony's podcast, Holy Cannoli, on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. All links are in the description. Music by The Silent Partner on Free Music Archive. Tune in next time.